Hey everybody, it's Ron Bass with another edition of the Ron Bass Show, your source for inspiration, encouragement, motivation, and a little bit of fun. Mr. Brent Atterbury joining us today, Mr. Executive Producer, Mr. Marketing Guru.
Glad to see you today.
Glad to see you today. Glad to see you any day.
Yeah.
So, here we go, guys. Many of you guys have asked me to talk about different subjects. We're going to do that today. But before we get into that, I had an interesting experience today I wanted to share with you and see what you guys think about this. So there's a friend of mine at the local convenience store, and she was really dragging today, and I noticed it, and I made a comment to her, and she said, yeah, I'm really tired. And I've talked to her before, and I said, well, you know, the one solution to that is you need to get into the gym because your energy level is going to go a lot higher. You're going to feel a lot better, yada, yada, yada. Oh, she said, I'm just don't have the energy to. I said, I understand that, but you've got to take that plunge. You have to. So I got to thinking about it. She said, I don't want to go by myself. I said, who cares? Go by yourself. Doesn't matter. But I got to thinking about this. To come up with a better formula to encourage people to go to the gym. And let me tell you what I do. I might have mentioned this in another podcast, but I trick myself when I go to the gym. Here's how I do it. I get on the Stairmaster, which is basically step climbing, right? If you guys don't know what that device is. And you're climbing. So what I'll do is I'll trick myself. And I'll say, okay, to myself, I'll say, Ron, see if you can make it to this amount of minutes. And I'll say to myself, I'll say, okay. And when I get to that point, I'll trick myself again and I'll go, okay, let's see if you can make it to, and then I'll put another number in there, see if you can make it to that. And then when I get to that level, I trick myself again. And I say, okay, let's just see if you can make it to this next level. I'm talking about minutes, right? Because I don't change the speed particularly. And then at the very end of this experience, I'll say, okay, and I'm starting to really perspire and I'm getting tired. Okay, let's see if you can make it. Let's see if you can make it to this, and that'll be the finale. And then I'll raise the speed even. But by then I'm really warmed up, and I don't feel as much discomfort. It's kind of weird. I guess the endorphins are flowing, and you're just kind of flowing, and you're feeling good about the fact that you're making something happen. And then you know what, man, it's crazy, but you wind up accomplishing the goal, which is really the original goal. But you tricked yourself into accomplishing the goal. So I say all that to say this. I think if you can trick yourself in a similar fashion to get yourself to go to the gym. So let's kind of walk through that and see what you think. So let's say you know you want to go to the gym, but you don't really want to go to the gym because you don't want to go to the gym. You know it's good for you, but you don't want to mess with it. Okay. How about if you trick yourself into saying to yourself, okay, how about if I just get in my car? I'll start with that. Okay. So you get in the car, and how about if I just start the car up? Okay, I'll start the car up. Okay, how about this? Let's see if I can convince myself, convince is the key word, convince myself to maybe go down the street a couple blocks. And you'll say to yourself, okay. And you get down to the street a couple blocks, and then you say to yourself, let's see if I can maybe make it to the entrance of the gym, the parking lot. I don't know. Okay, I'll try. And you're talking to yourself this whole time, guys. This is really important. And you make it to the entrance of the gym. You get into the parking lot. Now, the kicker. Let's see if I can convince myself to get out of the car and walk inside. Okay, I'll try. And you get out of the car, and once you get inside, it's air conditioned. You look around, you see other people that are working out. People are friendly at the front desk. And then you say to yourself, okay, I'm only going to spend like 5 minutes of exercise. I'm not going to go crazy. I'm just going to, let's just walk, get on the treadmill. Let's just walk on the treadmill like 2 miles an hour, really slow. And let's do that for 5 minutes. You guys get the idea where I'm going with this? So apply the same philosophy and strategy I'm using once I'm in the gym. You apply the same strategy to get yourself into the gym and at least get to the first device, the first exercise instrument, okay? I want you guys to try this out. And I think what you're going to find is that once you get on that treadmill, you're going to realize it's not so bad, and you can probably start increasing the minutes and go a little longer and keep adding and keep adding. And then you're going to find out eventually, if you'll do this every day or every couple of days, you'll get into a habit, you'll get into a pattern. And then it won't be so difficult. A friend of mine walking down the street. That's interesting. We're in our dojo here in Springfield, Missouri, and this is where we do our podcast. So the windows in our building are open, and you can see out. And one of the students of our gym just came walking by and waved. That's why I was waving. In case you're wondering, what's he doing? Okay, so much for that idea. I don't want to burden you or bore you with that, but I'd like you to try this and let me know what you think.
Sounds like you're pulling a lot of tricks there.
I am. But you know what? Whatever it takes. I like to break things down. We got a lot of flies in the building, but I'd like to break things down to where people can very simply, fundamentally understand. I was watching an old film the other day of Jack LaLanne, 1950. Jack LaLanne was one of the original fitness pioneers. He had a television show in the United States, and he would do very, very, very simple exercise techniques and teach people 30 minutes a day on television. He would use a chair. He would do sit-ups, but just real basic, simple things. But he would walk through it kind of the way I'm walking through it, and he kept it very simple. And he really identified with the audience because he knew that most people didn't have the enthusiasm or ambition that he had, because he was a real fitness guy. He'd been doing it his whole life. He's 50. At that time, he was about 50. Been doing it since he was a kid. So he was locked in. But you guys got to realize, or I've got to realize, and my coaches in my jiu-jitsu business really need to realize, I was talking to some of my coaches last night, most people are not that serious. They just want to do something to try to make themselves feel better, have a little more confidence, get some fitness. Got flies going everywhere around this place. Maybe we need to come up with a way to get rid of flies. We could probably make $1 million, huh?
Maybe.
I got a bottle over here with alcohol and half alcohol, half water. I used to shoot it with out of a squeegee or out of a squirt bottle.
It was filled half alcohol?
Half alcohol and half...
What kind of alcohol?
No. Okay. At any rate, I'd be sitting around shooting them at night. It's kind of crazy. I quit doing it because I didn't like they just seen them drop out of the sky. But
the place smelled like alcohol.
Yeah, it did smell like alcohol. But at any rate, so I hope you can identify what I'm saying. I hope you'll try it out. Actually, you can apply this philosophy just about to anything in life. But we'll just stick to exercise right now because in my mind and in my opinion, I believe that if you can exercise something like I'm talking, if you can do a little bit of exercise every day, every other day, your life is going to be, man, so much better. So much better, so much better, so much better. So anything I can do to try to encourage you to figure that out, and I hope this little formula that I just talked about might help you, but it's worth it to me to explain and get it out to the public. Okay, moving forward with some other ideas. Let's see, one of my subscribers said to me they're suffering from anger issues, and they find themselves even trying to hurt themselves. And they said that their family is afraid of them. So this is pretty serious stuff. If you're at a point where you're so angry that you're hurting yourself, it's really deep, guys. And I assume when you say hurting yourself, you mean like cutting. I see that a lot. Taking like literally a knife and cutting yourself. That's one of the more obvious ways that people try to hurt themselves. But let's talk about anger. Let's talk about where does anger come from. Anger, I think, is a reflection of frustration, not being able to be in control of a process that you want to be in control of, being disappointed in either yourself or other people around you. So when you have anger, you've got to get it out in a more healthy sort of way, right? That's why I love gym. That's why I love martial arts. That's why I love going to the gym, because it's a great way to get this, to express yourself, this frustration, but in a very healthy way. And when you're physically tired, you have a tendency of being obviously more relaxed. And relaxation probably would be the opposite of anger. So I'm kind of breaking it down in simple terms, but I'm pretty sure that's probably fairly accurate. As far as hurting or your family being afraid of you, I can see why. I mean, if you're expressing yourself in a, like we had some people in our gym the other night that were about ready to fight each other. They were so angry at each other. And I decided I'm just better off to let them continue to scream and yell at each other for a minute and kind of watch it. And if they were going to like throw a fist or something, then we would have got involved. But eventually what happened, it's like a balloon. Eventually the air goes out, things calm down. And then they apologized and they hugged and everything was cool. So if you've got family members afraid of you because you're being explosive, I get it. But the only way to really make this better is for you to try to find ways to control your anger. Now, what are those ways? You know, traditional ways probably would be medication. I'm not all that in favor of that. I mean, unless it's extreme, some kind of a brain illness where you're impulsive that way. Counseling, of course, but to me, the best way to help anger is exercise. I just saw an article the other day that said that exercise is worth 1.5 times what medication will do for you to control depression. So back to exercise again. More and more articles are being written every single day about how effective and how important exercise is, how much it helps the brain, the psychology, your emotional issues, your mental issues. It's a great tool, and I know I talk about it all the time, guys, but it's because it's really the centerpiece of everything, in my opinion, in life. If you're healthy and you're fit mentally and physically, you can do anything. You can handle anything. I'm not saying you can handle it easily. I'm not saying you're going to go through life and be happy every day. You're always going to have struggles and disappointments, and embarrassments, and it's just life. It's just not, life's just not meant to be wonderful and it's every day. It's not meant to be, this is not euphoria. This is a jungle. One of my black belt used to say, he said, Ron, it's a jungle, and you got to be the toughest, animal in the jungle to survive, or you're going to get eaten. I thought a lot about that. And confidence comes from a sense of accomplishment. So the more you accomplish, the more goals you set, the more you work towards your goals and overcome adversity and struggle, the more likely you are to become a more fit person mentally and physically. What say you, sir? I see you traveling a bit.
I don't know a lot about this subject. Because I actually, from an early age, I knew that I felt better when things were positive. So I worked really hard to understand why you should be positive. Why do everything you can to create a positive environment. It just makes life so much more enjoyable. But I can't, if it were me and I were related to you or a friend, I would recommend the counseling. Exercise is very good, but counseling will help you discover the root of why you have this anger issue, and then what you can do to work on it.
Fair enough.
So I think both.
And maybe counseling could be a friend or a preacher or a rabbi or a parent or a good.
You have to find the root. You have to find out what's causing that.
Yeah, and I think a lot of anger comes from a sense of disappointment in yourself,
and life,
and in the way other people are treating you or how it's affecting you.
Life is too short, guys, and you have to take each day and enjoy every day because you may not be given tomorrow.
Speaking of depression or anger, I have a subscriber that, this is really a sad comment to me. It makes me sad, but they said that their life is going really good. They've got a great family. They've got a great job, and yet they still feel down. And I think when they say down, I think that's another way of saying they're depressed. And I think a lot about this because my brother was schizophrenic and suffered from depression, And when you looked at his life, he had no reason to be like that, other than maybe there was a brain chemistry problem. If the chemistry's not right, you're going to have problems. And sometimes I think you're just born with depression. And maybe in this case, that's what's going on, because if everything's going well in your life and you still feel down, then it still doesn't really make sense. Versus, if you have a problem in your life, you're going through a relationship problem or the death of a loved one, that's a good reason to feel sad, right? But just to feel sad almost has to be something wrong chemically, which only a couple of things are probably going to make that better: medication or exercise, or both. Counseling, I don't think it's going to help a chemical depression. When I say chemical, I mean a brain physiological problem. There's certain parts of the brain that are not doing what it should be doing, or the serotonin level, or it's just something's not right, and you just carry this burden with you. Speaking of brain illnesses, I was in class last night, and one of my students is a caretaker for what would appear to be a mentally retarded girl. She would sit around the gym last night in the chair, and she would start clapping, and she would move her head like this, and she would try to talk but couldn't really speak. And my student told me, he said that she's nonverbal. I suspect that means she can't communicate verbally, but she was making sounds. And I thought to myself, there's a perfect example of the brain not right. I mean, either there was an injury or she was born that way, I assume. One or the other or both. So I think depression, unfortunately, I think is often misclassified as mental, but I think it's brain illness, brain chemistry, brain physiology. That's my opinion. So that subscriber that sent that to me, I would go to a psychiatrist, and I would find out chemically, where you stand. And if you do have that sort of a problem, you may have to get on medication.
And I think they'll determine if it is brain illness, as you call it, or it could be something. It could be something as simple as when someone says they're down. There's various degrees of down.
Yeah.
And maybe them taking up a hobby, or maybe them painting, makes them feel better inside. We don't know.
We don't know. That's true.
So I think that going to professional help to identify, again,
it's not a bad idea. It's another tool.
Happening.
It's another tool. Once again, though, I will say that from everything I've studied, exercise is a great tool to help control depression, which is a synonym for sadness, being downhearted. So try both things and let me know how it turns out. I would try that before I would do medication. It's my opinion. The counseling and or the exercise. Give yourself a couple, 2, 3, 4 weeks of exercise. If that does not help, then you really don't have an option but to turn to a psychiatrist and perhaps medication. But I can tell you from my own experience that whenever I've been down and discouraged and depressed, exercise always brings me back up again. I guess it controls the serotonin level in the brain, I believe. Creates endorphins, which is the feel-good hormone, or feel-good, whatever that is, thing in the brain that makes you feel better. And it's not permanent. You have to, you have to go in every day or every other day and exercise again. It's like motivation. You have to be motivated every day, guys. You can't just be motivated once and expect that to last your whole life. I mean, you have to have motivation every day, and you have to have exercise every day. I'm going to wear people out talking about exercise. I know.
Well, I've lost a few pounds just listening to you.
By the way, here's something kind of cool, I think. One of my coaches the other night, he's been a boxer his whole life, did a lot of competitions. He was talking to one of the students, training him, and he said, no wind, no win. Talking about you have to have good cardio, right? Good endurance, and so you have to train hard to be able to endure the fight. The man that can win the fight's the man that can fight the next round. Got to have good cardio. And the other thing that he said was no legs and no fight. So a lot of times when they fight, in kickboxing particularly, you would do certain damage to the legs so that they weren't able to really stand well correctly anymore, and you would more easily win the fight. But that was interesting.
He's a man of few words.
Yeah, he's a man of few words. He's tough too. Well, I wouldn't want to fight that guy, man. Okay, another subscriber sent me this: how to make better use of my free time. Well, I keep everything written down. I write everything down on a daily basis, so I kind of schedule myself out. Free time, work time, rest time, exercise time, workout time. You get the idea. Hobby time, whatever it is that floats your boat. And I think you just take advantage of all waking hours. You can't hope that you're going to be efficient with your day if you don't plan and schedule things out, in my opinion. And it's not that complicated. Every morning at 11 o'clock, I leave my office, I go to the gym. It's just no different than I go to bed at a certain time, and I get up at a certain time, and I eat at a certain time. And so that's kind of a simple answer to your question.
Spontaneity is fun, but if you're really wanting to make better use of your free time, then you do have to plan, you have to schedule, you have to say, okay, whatever that day is or whatever time it is, during this time I'm going to do this, during this time I'm going to do that, and just make it happen. Make it happen.
And I think they were more specific that they wanted to talk about in their free time, what could they do to make it more effective.
Oh.
And I think using your free time, it's really important. I mean, you might take a nap. I've noticed a 5-minute nap is almost like taking an 8-hour sleep for me. I'm so much more refreshed after just a few minutes. When I travel a lot, I'll pull off the side of the road in just 5 or 10 minutes, and man, I'm ready to go for the rest of the day. It's crazy, but I've studied that too. There's articles, scientific studies that have been done that prove that is so. I don't know how that works in the brain, but that's the way it is. It just does. So a nap possibly, some exercise possibly, reading, listening to some music. Music's the medicine, guys. Music's a great motivator, and it's great for just making you feel good and getting motivated. It creates some ambition and a good mood and so forth and so on. Okay, another subscriber sent me a message about their 12-year-old nephew being bullied. Well, that's a pet peeve of mine, guys. I can't stand bullies. It's another reason I got into martial arts, to learn self-defense and teach our students the same. There's just no excuse for somebody to be mean to somebody else. Just none. It's horrible. So get your kids into get your family members into martial arts, learn how to strike, kickboxing, and how to strangle and joint manipulation, whether it's Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which is what we teach, MMA, kickboxing, boxing, taekwondo, karate, something to teach that child skill level, how to defend themselves, and also self-confidence. Very important, guys, particularly when they're young. Get them in young. I have a lot of young students, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years old, and there's nothing like it. I was a late bloomer. I didn't even start jiu-jitsu until I was 60, but I'm glad I did. It's made a big difference in my life for sure. So that's kind of a short answer to your question, but if you want to ask me some more questions along those lines, feel free to do that, and I will respond on the next podcast. Well,
I have
got something to say?
Yeah. Today, on a serious note, normally I try to make fun of what's going on today, but on a serious note, today is actually National Juneteenth Day.
Oh, that's right.
It's a new holiday, relatively new. I guess it's been going on for 3 years. And I'm reading here, it says it's also known as National Freedom Day. It's emancipation of the end of slavery in the U.S. after the Civil War.
Wow, that's powerful.
So it's an awesome day. Now, on a silly note, I always gotta have silly.
Yes.
I didn't want to get by without mentioning that though, because that is important. But on a silly note, it's also National Garfield Day, the cat.
So, the cat.
Yeah, just wanted to throw that out there.
Funny.
And then some breaking news. There's someone that had just broke a new Guinness book of world records.
And what was that?
Tara Berry of Topeka, Kansas. She has a new Guinness World Record with the most tattoos of the same musician on her body.
Oh my gosh.
She has 18 tattoos of Madonna.
Oh my gosh.
She said she got the first one in 2016. The ink spans the entire singer's career. She says she spent about $10,000
Oh my gosh.
on the tattoos, all 18 tattoos. So just wanted to let you know there's a new Guinness Book of World Record. It's tattoo related about Madonna.
So you know what? That must be a testament to that person's dedication to that artist. I mean, that's pretty
And
crazy.
think about it. This artist is out there performing their craft, hoping they'll enjoy the craft. But the artists need to realize sometimes fans, I don't want to say worship,
they can be
but
excessive.
they
It's dangerous.
they take it to another
Yeah,
level.
I get it.
And I mean, good grief, that's a lot.
It's a lot. Well, good for her if that makes her happy, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's about all I got for today. I don't want to bore anybody too much. So if you don't have any last words, I'll wrap it up and we'll let people get back to their rest of their life, whatever else they do besides listen to our podcast.
Well, I did want to say something, and I don't know if I've said this in the podcast yet, about the train. Have I said that?
Oh, yeah, the train.
Have I said that?
Yes.
I did say it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I've
Every
already
time
talked
we hear
about
the train horns, it's an omen. It's a
Yeah. Okay.
it's a good sign.
All right. I wasn't sure because we had some technical difficulties. Oh, by the way, yes, apologize for the last podcast. We uploaded the same one twice. I was going to delete it, but it got a lot of views, so I just
Yeah.
left it up there.
Guys, thank you for the views. Thanks for the sharing. Thanks for the comments. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that. It really makes our day, and we're glad that we can affect your lives in a positive way. That's really our goal every single day. So thanks for that. I guess until next time, then, as always, the key is to always stay positive and never give up. So until next time, just remember, if you don't give up, those stars are eventually going to line up. So until next time, just remember, always stay positive.